quickly. Facebook says it removed 1.5 million videos of the attack in the first 24 hours following the incident, but a number of businesses in the country have pulled advertising from the site now in an attempt to send a direct message to the company. Let's speak to Sasha Havlicek, founder of the counter-terrorism think tank Institute for Strategic Dialogue. Thank you for coming in. Another developing story, as we know, in the Netherlands. Forgive us for starting with that. No live streaming in this case, it seems now. But what more could and should Facebook have done?
And just to pick up your point about what's happening in the Netherlands, it speaks to a larger phenomenon that we've been analysing, researching and warning about, which is the rise of cumulative or reciprocal radicalisation, where we see extremists on the far right and the jihadist ends of the spectrum essentially inspire each other, share some of the tactics and tools, even the same narratives, and of course feed into the mainstreaming of their movements and the ideologies that underpin them.
But presumably companies like Facebook and others will have algorithms who will have alarm bells ringing for things like child pornography and extreme sexual content.
Correct. I mean, the fact that Facebook removed 1.5 million copies of the live streamed content from New Zealand begs the question, why were these allowed to go up in the first place? And then pre-upload filters have been applied in other contexts, and indeed in relation to Islamist terrorist content. So more needs to be done, and it does suggest that they need to be doing more to invest in the capacity to moderate this type of content, this illegal type of content. But the bigger question I think that this raises is, what do you do in the long term with content that neither transgresses laws in any given country or indeed the terms of service of the companies? Because a lot of the content, for instance, uploaded on mainstream platforms by the attacker would not have transgressed those norms. And we see a wider ecosystem of far right movements that are very adept to towing the line on mainstream platforms in terms of what's legal and illegal.
I mean, I think it's thought, isn't it, that the gunman, in this case, well, the alleged gunman, used an app which is used for dangerous outdoor sports. But how do you create an algorithm involving, for example, guns when there are legitimate things to film involving guns, clay pigeon shooting or normal shooting?
Well, this is the challenge of grey area content or political speech. We've got to have much more innovative solutions to that set of problems, at least in free countries where we want to see freedom of speech maintained. And here, you know, we have been working with a number of companies, both on the sorts of educational programs that are desperately needed for us to be able to spot propaganda when we see it and indeed respond to it, understand when we're being drawn into a filter bubble or echo chamber. We do need to invest in the tools and the capabilities for civil society to compete effectively for share of mind online with these extremist groups. But there is a wider challenge, and I think this doesn't preclude better policies, better regulation of the social media environment in relation to how these technologies essentially amplify extreme content and enclose people in